Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to download and install Photoshop brushes in Photoshop. So we're going to start with the assignment. So we're going to go to brusheasy.com, and this is where we're going to find all of our brushes. Don't worry about clicking on this brush here, it's not going to load. So go ahead and click on Brush Easy. I'm going to show you how to download and install brushes in Photoshop. So brushes are a way to do a couple things in Photoshop. You can paint with them, you can edit your layer masks with them, you can modify your pictures or your images with them. But for this assignment, we are going to learn how to add depth and texture to our images. So I'm going to go ahead and search for, let's say, texture. Okay, so on our next project, we're going to make a sports poster, and you're going to have textures and depth and Photoshop brushes. So we're going to go ahead and pick one of them. You don't want to pick the ones that say premium because you cannot use those ones. Well, you can, but you have to pay for them. We're going to go ahead and go with stone, and I'm going to click on the picture. It will open up this free download page. I'm going to click on free download, let it do its thing, download the file. All right. Looks good. So it downloaded. So I'm on a PC today, so it's going to be a little bit different when you're not a whole lot, but on your computer it's going to look different because you're on the Macs. But I'm going to go to my Finder. So that's the little blue and white guy on your Mac computer down in the bottom toolbar. I'm going to open up my download folder on my Mac. When you get to your Finder, you're going to go to your downloads, and it should be the first zipped file. Yours is going to look a little bit different. It's a white folder, and it's got a zipper down the middle. Same concept. What you're going to do is double click, and it's going to launch or open up that zipped file. You're looking for the file that says ABR. So it'll say freestone or free whatever Photoshop brush.abr. Okay, you're going to double click on that, and it's going to load the brush into Photoshop. You're not going to see anything happen except for it will probably launch or open up Photoshop. Okay, it's just like when you install fonts on your computer, you don't see anything happen, but it did install it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Photoshop now. We're going to go find our brush. So I'm going to create a new file. And at this point, it doesn't matter what size. I just want you guys to see what a Photoshop brush is. So let me go ahead and actually, I do want you to name it. So you're going to name it your first initial, last name, underscore brushes, or brush. And we're going to make this 11 by 8.5. Again, it doesn't matter what size you make yours today for this assignment. I don't know why it keeps defaulting to but something else. Okay, that's fine. My resolution needs to be 300, and then hit create. So anytime you create a document in this class, 9 times out of 10, what is going on? Um, your resolution needs to be 300. So mine didn't size properly for some reason. I don't know why. It's really, really small. If this happens, I need you to go to the image and then Canvas or image size. And I need you to make sure that it is the proper size. So this one, for some reason, did not hold my sizing. I don't know why. So you need to make sure that this button is unchecked. So it should look like this. And then you can go ahead and type in the dimensions that you want your artboard to be. And it's always a good way to check to see what size your picture or your artboard actually is. So this one's 11 by 8.5 inches and 300 pixels per inch, which is exactly what I want. Before it was not that. I'm going to hit OK, and it should zoom way in, which is fine. Okay, so let's zoom out. So you always want to have a couple things open, your layer panel, your toolbar, and your option bar up here, your control bar on the top. So I'm going to close a couple of these things out really quick. So the first thing that I want to look for, I already loaded it, right? I double clicked on that folder. I'm going to go to my brushes right here, okay? And up here on my control or my option bar, I'm looking for this, it should be the third option in, okay? So this is where your brush controls are. And the first thing I like to do is set it up. So I'm going to click on these settings. I'm going to make sure all three of these are checked. Okay, so if they're not checked, it'll look like when you open up your file, it'll look like this. You won't be able to see what it looks like when you just click one time. So I like to see that, what it's going to look like. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So I'm going to extend this a little bit so I can pull this down so I can see all the brushes that I have loaded. Okay, so the one that we just downloaded, so it comes with, I think, 4 basic brushes, right? General brushes, dry media brushes, wet, special brushes, and then I've installed these 2 brushes. Anytime you want to see what kind of brushes you have, you're going to open up the folder. So you click on the arrow, and then these are the brushes that are in my general brush palette. Okay, so let's talk about your brushes really quick. So a soft round brush and a hard round brush. The difference between those two is a hard round brush, the hardness is set to 100%. And what that's going to look like is when I paint with a brush, it's nice and sharp. It's not soft, it's not feathered. But then when I click with a soft round brush, it jumped that hardness back down to 0. Okay, and then when I paint with that one, it's nice and soft. That's the difference between a soft and a hard brush. Okay, when you're adjusting your layer masks and you're painting things on and off, I like to paint with a nice soft brush. That way the edges are feathered and it's not a sharp like contrast between the image and what I'm trying to blend it with. It helps blend your brushes a little bit easier and looks a little bit nicer. Okay, oops. Anytime you paint with a brush, you always want to put it on a new layer. Okay, so you click on your new layer right here at the bottom of your layer stack. I'm going to go open my brush panel again, and I'm going to click on my one I just downloaded, the Freestone Photoshop brushes. So this is texture. Okay, so when this brush was created, it was created in a square. I can tell because it looks like a square, and it was created at 2500 pixels. So it's probably like an 8 by 10 or a 8 by 8 or maybe a 10 by 10. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on any one, doesn't matter which one, and then I'm going to hit enter to close this box out. So what's going to happen when I stamp with this brush, I'm just going to click one time with my mouse. It's going to give me a stamp that looks like a brick wall. So what a brush is, it's a created image, or like a stamp from a created image. Okay, so oftentimes people will go find textures or patterns or shapes or even photographs, and they'll create brushes out of them. Just like we created a pattern, you can create a brush the same way from almost anything. Okay, so this is a brush, right? So my color is brown. Let's say I wanted it to be purple or pink, magenta. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to hide this one and go to my stamp tool. So anytime you change your color, that's what color your brush is going to be. Okay. So this would be a textured brush. Okay, I can use this over a photograph to give my image some texture. Let me see, I don't think I have any photos on my computer. Let me grab a picture really quick. So I did find unsplash.com is a new website, not a new website, but new to us because it wasn't an option before. They have not taken it away. Let's go ahead and use this one. So I'm going to click on this one. So you can download free images for your projects, which is fantastic. So if you're ever looking for a photo to use in your project, unsplash.com is a great place to go. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this one in there real quick. Okay, so I have 2 layers. I have my picture, or I have 3 layers, sorry, and then I have my texture layer. So this isn't the greatest example of how to use a textured brush because it's a little weird for this one. I'm going to find a different one, see if any of these are better. I'm going to change my color to, let's go with gray, dark gray. So when you're using a textured brush, you don't want it to look nice and or super heavy like this. You want it to be kind of soft. So let me stretch this picture out a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I can either use my blend mode to kind of go through each one and see if it makes a difference. I just wanted to give it a little bit of texture, right? So like that looks okay. Lighter color. I would stretch all of this. Obviously my picture and my brush would fit my page and I wouldn't have this white Okay, but you can see that it gives it a little bit of a texture, right? So this is without and this is with. You could also lower the opacity of your brush right here, and it just gives it a little bit of depth, okay? So what we're doing for our next project is creating sports or music posters, and you want to give your image some depth, and we've talked about that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go find and install a Photoshop brush, and you're going to stamp on your paper. Okay, that's it. That's all I want you to do. You could try looking for lightning brushes. You could look for fire brushes. You could look for anything that has texture or pattern. Okay, you're going to find. So fire brushes are kind of cool to use. So go find a brush, download it, install it, create a new document, and stamp on the page just one time. When you're done, you're going to export your file as a JPEG, so file export. You're going to put it in your Google Drive in your graphics project folder, and you're going to turn it into this assignment. Don't close it out because you're going to go to the text one, which is next. Okay, so save it as a brush and then go watch the next video.